All right, guys. How's everybody doing? How's the lovely Megan Dorn? Not good. I knew I was going to get that reaction. What's up, girlfriend?
Oh, God. Last week was such an amazing week for my trades. And then, like I told you, I just had this mindset I've got to make this amount a day, and I should have done the monthly. And so I forced a trade on Monday, which I lost. So then I doubled down on Tuesday and I doubled down today, and I just keep digging myself deeper and deeper. And now I'm like, do I just cut my losses and be out all this money, or do I hang with it and think it's going to bounce back? And I'm so sick to my stomach with what I've done.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit surprised, Megan. I mean, but again, you're just kind of getting started with this whole thing too, in terms of the journal and stuff, because when you do things like that, it just tells me you don't have a plan when you go into it, or if you do have a plan, even worse, you're not following the plan. So anytime I'm jumping into a trade, doesn't matter what it is, I know where I'm going to double down. I know where I'm going to go ahead and put more into it than what I have on it. So, you know, those are the type of things that you want to be able to take a look at. You want to be able to like when I got into this trade here today towards the close of the market, SPG, I saw a lot of volume coming into it, a lot of heavy buying going into it. You see the volume here, some unusual option activity. I like the setup, but here's the thing I like about the trade. The biggest thing I like about it is that the reward to risk has to be there for me. So you see, I have two lines drawn on my chart here. So why is that? I'm planning ahead of time. I'm thinking ahead of time. If this stock happens to break down below this first line here, which is 129.96, I will stop out. So you can see this, the stock is trading at 130.48, and I have a stop set at 129.96. I'm not losing much on that trade. So why this second line then? The second line is for, so I went in with I'm always scaling into trades. So I scaled into this one. But the second line is that if I stop out of the trade, well, does that mean I walk away from it? Do I just, close my eyes and say, you know what, I'm going to go on to the next thing? Maybe, but not in this case, because I like what the company's doing. So I have this second line drawn for, if it does break this line, this is the next area that I'm going to look to scale back into the trade. And I do that with all my trades. So go back here, and I'm going to give you a chance to take a look at what you were doing. But if you go back here and take a look at Airbnb. So Airbnb, let's put this up here, Airbnb. This trade here, I had a pretty big position on today, and that was because of the close yesterday. So when the trade moved down, I had scaled in the trade with not a lot of money. And as it started moving down, I scaled in with more money. And then Mike had reached out during the chat. He says, Bruce, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to buy more. And the reason I was going to buy more because I was scaling into it. So it allowed me the little bit of more flexibility to be able to go ahead and double down on it. But I also had that line drawn in the sand where if it was to break below this area here on the close, I would have gone ahead and stepped away from it. And it never did. And then boom, it rallied today. And Julie was talking about it in the trade, and Mike mentioned it again. I said, hey, resistance is about 152, and it closed above that. But I stepped out of the trade. I closed out the trade with profits. Doesn't mean I'm going to now turn my back on it because I think Airbnb goes to $200 a share. But it doesn't mean I'm going to hold it either. It's because I'm following my plan, where my plan says if it breaks above this with a lot of force, I would have kept it. But it didn't break above it with a lot of force. It barely broke above it. And I'm going to see what happens as we go into the next week. But there's always a plan in place, and I'm always following that plan.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the trades that you did, Megan, that you were talking about. You mentioned.
Well, I did Airbnb perfectly. So okay. There's one win. And I don't know if you want me to share my screen or if you want to do your screen, but Booking is the one that is pissing me off. That's one of them. So
this is the one you reached out to me the other day, and I said, hey, it looks bearish to me. Yep. This trade looks bearish, and it still looks bearish to me. I wouldn't touch it. But again, I haven't traded this for a while. So when you got into this trade and you reached out,
zoom in on that. So see how go towards the bottom, there seems to be some support on the bottom of those candles. If you go back several months, like that seems to be the bouncing point.
Okay.
And it does look bearish in that it is making lower highs as it's going. When I look at the 180 chart, but then it typically always has a bounce when it hits that line. And so I'm thinking it's going to have a bounce when it hits that line. So I bought in, and then I got your message and I was like, shoot, Bruce knows way more than me. I'm going to get out before anything happens. And of course it did the bounce just like I thought it would, just like it has done in months. And I was looking like a day trade on this. And so it went up probably about $5,000-$6,000 that I missed out on. And then as it went up, I'm thinking it's doing exactly what I said it would do. Why didn't I follow my intuition? So then I jump back in and then it comes back down. So not only did I miss out on like 6 or 7 grand of profits, then I lost, you know, thousands of dollars of money. And now I'm like, what do I do now? Is it going to bounce? Because this one can move, you know, 30 points in a day. And part of my thing is I'm getting so distracted by the noise. There's so much going on in our chat, but then on top of it, I'm in this other chat, which has 5 times as much chatter going on. And it seems like everybody else is doing like buying and selling on candles basically. And I need to get back to what you were doing with me, which is find the right setup, buy it. And it might take a day or 3 or a week, but you're following the rules in the setup versus in and out on a candle or a day. And that's where I'm really burning myself, as I'm reacting too quickly.
Yeah, it goes back to not really having a plan, or really, you know, maybe there's too much flexibility in your plan, or not following it altogether, and maybe a little bit of both. You have to be clear. It's great to get ideas from. I probably spend 6 figures on different subscriptions and all different types of things, Stansberry research and whatnot. But those are idea generators for me. I don't act on every single thing that I see or I hear about. And you can't do that. You have to really know, why are you getting into the trade? What's the thesis behind that trade? And then you have to take a look at it technically. I mean, I don't really see what you see with bookings. I don't, you know, but that's okay. You have to see it through your own lens and again, follow those rules. For me, on the 4-hour chart, it looks bearish. You know, you said, hey, Bruce, go to a longer term chart. So I go out to a 3-year chart. On the 3-year chart, it looks really bearish to me as well. And it looks to me, if it really fell and picked up momentum, it could fall all the way down to this area here, back to the 200-day moving average. And so you have to go back and take a look at, what are your rules for getting into trades? And I'll go back and I'll use this example of a fresh trade that I just opened up at the close of the marketplace, SPG. A couple of things I saw about it, you know, so I like to layer things. I like to be able to say, what's going to cause me to get into this trade? So there's several things that I like about it, but I'm just going to talk about it from a technical point of view. I like where it's sitting right now. Technically, I like my reward to risk. I did the same thing that you did on bookings. I go back on a multiple time frame analysis and I take a look at it on a 3-year chart. And it just on the 3-year chart just broke above its 200-day moving average. So this is my line in the sand right here for the 200-day moving average. That's where I got my second line, you know, at 127.42. If it came down to that area and I was out of the trade, I would buy and enter again, because I like the fact that it's sitting very, very close to the 200-day moving average. And I see where's the stock gone before? Well, it looks like it's just getting going to me. And it looks like there's plenty of room for upside momentum. But those are the trades I like to be able to take a look at. When I go back and I take a look at bookings, I don't see what you see. I would, like I said before, in my first response was, looking at it technically, I wouldn't have taken the trade. I think there's too many other trades out there that look much, much better than this.
Can you go to the 184-hour chart on Booking? Mm-hmm. And then the zoom in from like right where the first or second earnings thing is. Not that one, that one. Yeah. So zoom in from there to the end. Yep. Mm-hmm. So see how there seemed to be this touch point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times roughly around that. Yep. Yeah. Right around there. So what I did then is I went back and looked at every single one of these touch points, and it had a little tiny jump. I don't care about all the way up, but maybe like just a little tiny bit. Every time it hits this, it bounces just a little tiny bit. So in a matter of 4 hours or an hour, it hits this bounce, and then it could come back down and crash through it. I don't care. But I was thinking I'll get that bounce off of that. Mm-hmm. For a quick scalp. And by a quick scalp, it could be, 5, 10, 15 grand, because it moves 30 points in an hour.
Right. Yeah. So
ultimately, it does look bearish.
Yeah, if I would have taken the trade, I would have to been a little bit under the influence to take this trade, but I wouldn't have. If I would have taken the trade, this would have been my uncle point right here. This would have been my uncle point. So this is the day. This is one of the days that you said, "Hey, Bruce, what does it look like?" Even not even knowing that, I hadn't even drawn the line at this point. It was already below that. I would, and then if I saw it bounce back up, things happen like that. I mean, what's the stock that we were trading? Airbnb. Airbnb could skyrocket tomorrow and leave me sitting there looking at it. I don't chase things though, right. So same thing with this. This would not have done anything to me. I would just say, oh well, I got it wrong. I got out. But here, if you, I don't know where you got into the trade, but if you're basing it on this, you would have had to, if you're following rules, you would have had to gone ahead and say, I would have got in maybe here, but you certainly wouldn't have gotten in on this day. And if it broke below this area and you're truly using this area as your area of support, you would have been out and lost very little money on the trade. For me, to be interested in this trade, I'd have to see these lines cross. I'd have to see this trade being at about 22.35 for me to be interested in a trade like this.
Man, this week is a crappy week.
It's okay though. We all have that though, Megan. You just got to shake it off. You've got. Sometimes it's good to clear the books. When I say clear the books, sometimes it's good to go to cash. I was in 100% cash. I want to say 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago. There's nothing wrong with being able to. There's nothing wrong with being able to go into to cash and kind of clear your head. And here's the other thing that I see. I saw Julia in the room saying she's had a great month, and I think Ben did too. And Mike, what I would do is tread with caution then, because sometimes you can get too caught up in that too. You say, man, I've had a good week, a good month, and then you think that you can do no wrong, and you don't want to be in that situation where you think you can do no wrong. Sometimes it's good to do a reset, even when you're green, to do a reset and take a look at what's going on in the marketplace, even going back through and forgetting about individual stocks, going back through and taking a look at overall markets, seeing what the overall markets are doing. Right now the overall markets still look pretty good. Going back through and taking a look at sector rotation, seeing what type of activity you're seeing with sector rotation, looking at that. What I was showing you guys before, the FinViz, where's money going in, where's money going out? Are there stocks that haven't taken off like they should have? Stocks that are laggards? I don't know. I mean, I just recently got back into Workhorse. I can't remember, somebody mentioned in the group a couple of days ago, and I thought, I'm going to take a look at that again. I don't know if I made the right trade or not, but look where I'm at. My line in the sand is right here. I'm not giving it much breathing room on this. I'm not going to sit there and it starts to break to the downside and hold on to it and say, you know what? I got in the trade. It's going to bounce. It's going to bounce. I make my decisions way before I get into the trade. I take a look at where things have gone. I base it. I don't care what all the noise is or what other people are saying. I take those as ideas, but in the end, I hold myself responsible for making those trades. And I'll go ahead and I'll outline where I'm going to get in, where I'm going to get out, and where I'm going to. Is it a trade that I'm looking to double down? I mean, when I took a look at Airbnb, just the whole thing with Airbnb, where we are, as I stated before, I think a week ago, 2 weeks ago, where we are in the economy, and America's opening back up, I think they're going to do very, very well. So even though I cashed out of this trade today, and that's only because it hit resistance and traded a little bit above that 200-day moving average, it does not mean the trade is done. It's far from done for me. So, but again, it doesn't mean I'm going to rush back into it. I'm going to wait to see what it does. I'm going to see if it does a little bit of consolidation, see if I can get in around the 150, closer to the 152 area, and after it consolidates, and then I'll make my move again. But those are the type of things that you want to be able to do, is planning out that trade ahead of time and really understanding what your thesis is. The other thing that when I looked at your message was Shop. So what happened with Shop? Walk me through that.
So, I mean, right there, to me, it looks like it's consolidating on that, and it's either going to go up or it's going to go down. And on my chart, it looks like it's about to squeeze off. And if you zoom in closer, I'm looking at here, let me pull up mine because I'm just going to look at it while I talk it through with you. So, I've got a kind of a line in the sand that I've mapped out at the 1456. Like, I don't want it to go below that. That's kind of like my uncle point. And then it looks like the channel on the top, I kind of marked at like 1496. And I'm looking at, I mean, it to me looks bearish, but I wonder if it's going to bounce off that bottom line and go back up to that channel like it's been doing. My concern is it's squeezing. Like when I look at the TTM squeeze chart, it's squeezing and it's going to fire off one way or the other.
Mhm.
And I think it's going to be pretty quick, and I don't want to get caught in the wrong direction.
Mhm.
And it looks, I'm leaning towards bearish, but it really likes to bounce off of that, 1453, whatever that bottom level is.
Right. The 1454 area.
Right.
So,
And then, there was 3 analyst ratings that came out and raised it. And then Shopify just cut costs for their partners, which they think are going to be growth mindset for Shop. And so there's some positive news out there as well that I'm like, with that in consideration, could it go up?
mhm. So, I mean, this trade, I mean, if you're going to take the trade on Shopify, you've got to stick to the rule of having you've taken the trade based on what you said, based on it bouncing off this support line right here at 1454. So if that's really the case, then if it breaks that line, what are you going to do?
I have to sell it and take my loss.
You have to sell and take your loss, because you can't convince yourself, wait a minute, it's going to bounce. It's going to bounce. For me, I don't like taking trades like this. And I love Shopify. I really do. But you see how for how this has it's made a nice run. Doesn't mean it can't run anymore. But I see, like, even like on my MACDs right here, I get this downward force here. And I've taken trades like this to the upside against this, but it's based off what you're saying. It's based off this being a support level and hold. And if it doesn't, I get out right away. I don't sit there and dilly dally, especially Shopify can move big time. I mean, it moved 22 points just today to the downside. So is it going to hold tomorrow? I would say it probably will not, but who knows? But I like getting trades with higher setups in this, where you go back and you go back and take a look at this area here. This area right here. It's a high setup. Everything's going in your direction. Strong company, analyst ratings. Shopify's got a lot of great things going on, and you got your technicals moving in the right direction. Here, that scares me a little bit. If I were to take that position, it would be a small position. It would be a small position, and I wouldn't risk a lot on it. That's me though.
Yep. Okay.
Can I add something, Bruce and Megan?
Please.
Okay. So just coming back to the point that you made, Bruce, one of my biggest mistakes in the stock market came on the back of doing having some really good wins, and literally getting into the idea, like you said, Bruce, the psychology that I couldn't make a mistake. So the decision making had changed from being quite prudent and diligent with the research and the background information to, if I do this trade, I'm going to win. And that's where I got caught out the most. It really fascinates me that you said that, Bruce, because I find that it's more often more efficient to do less trades than it is to try and squeeze out the trades. And it's what I'm observing with you, Bruce, is that you do less and less is actually more. The idea is to do quality trades, to like do 1 or 2 or 3 quality trades instead of trying to do 10 trades at once. And I think that's probably where the noise is very detrimental to actually the setup of the trade. The thing that I'm really getting from you, Bruce, that I'm learning, is that you are meticulous, but you're not focusing on 10 trades at a time. You're doing like 1, 2, or 3 trades and aiming for good return on those trades rather than trying to scalp here and there. Would you say that that's a good observation, Bruce?
I would say you're spot on, Ben. I would say you're spot on with that. I mean, I'm holding 2 trades, 2. When I today, going into today, there was, I think 3 trades on. So I don't go really more than 3. I do go heavy though, on the trades. When I get into a trade, I'll scale into the trade, and I don't scale for pennies. So I don't, if this trade moves down just a little bit and it moved down from the opening, I discipline myself to hold off on adding to it. I wait for the next day. and I'll have that line in the sand on when that backstop is. And if it pulls down more to the backstop, I'm going in, depending on where it goes, I'm going in much heavier. And that's like what I did with Airbnb when it pulled down. And Mike had announced it. He said, "Hey, there's Airbnb's not having a great day." And I looked at it and I thought, wow, it's close to my backstop. I'm gonna go ahead and add to it. And I added to it. And then during the day, I added more right before the closing bell. But your observation is absolutely correct. I mean, you don't need, and I'm sorry, Julia, very new to the group. She hit it spot on the head. You don't need a lot of trades. You just need the right ones. And the right ones, while Shopify is a great stock, for me, our business is always, and I say it again, our business is always about timing. And is this a bad trade? It's just a risky trade to me, because you're really counting on this thing after making a run, and there's nothing on my indicators that tells me it's going to go up. Nothing that's going to give me confidence says it's going to go up. It might, but I don't like to trade on might. I like to be able to get in on a lot of trades like this. And I don't get them all. I don't get them right all the time. I mean, MBIS was one that I stopped out of. I think Julia or somebody asked me about that. Hey, Bruce, what are you going to do? I don't sit there hoping and praying that it's going to go back up. I got out, and I didn't even get out at the closing bell, because I started to see this big red candlestick. I thought, I can hold it, but it's going to cause me anguish. I'm going to be thinking about it, and I could take that money that's in that trade and put it somewhere where I know I have a much better chance of making money. So it comes down to actively managing your trades. I mean, Wish, I've been in and out of Wish on this one here, and everyone trades differently. Some people want to hold trades and ride them. That's just not my style. When I put price targets on there, doesn't mean I'm going to hold it to that price target. I'm looking to get in and get out of a trade. So everybody has to have a line in the sand where you say, hey, I made profits on the trade. Where am I going to go ahead? How much am I going to let the markets take back of my profits before I go ahead and stop out? And then when you do stop out, then when are you going to get back in? What are you waiting to get back in for? And have that clear signal in your head, where when you see it on the chart, you say, boy, that's what I dreamt about. That's the setup that I was dreaming about. And then you make the trade and you go in, as heavy as you can stand, whatever your rules are on that particular on trading. But it's all about, typically, and Ben is spot on. There's times where I've had one major trade on, but it's usually 1, 2, or 3 trades. I don't deal with more than that. I really don't.
Yeah. And I think that I got so caught up last week of like, this is so easy. Like, now that I got it. And this is easy. I'm making money. So then I was like, Monday comes around, like, it's easy to make, this much money every day. And turns out it wasn't. And I went from, 2 trades last week to 10 trades this week, which bit me in the ass. Again, I should have stuck with my plan, and I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I know not to put on so many trades, and I did it anyway.
Yeah. I think the other thing too, Megan, when you set a daily goal, you're not a day trader. I know that from talking to you. You're not a day trader.
I know.
And there's nothing wrong with being a day trader. I was a day trader for years, but I day trade very rarely now. There's times that I will, but that's very rare. Mostly I swing trade. And
yep.
When you do that and you have that monthly goal, you're able to go ahead and not feel so much pressure to say, I have to put my money to work. I got to get back into the marketplace. You don't. If you can discipline yourself to make the right trades at the right time, you will find a lot of success doing that.
The other thing is, I think somebody needs to disable the 1-minute candles chart as an option for me because the 4-hour, candles that you normally look at, that seems so much easier, and I can read them and it makes sense. And then I jump to like the 1-day, 1-minute chart just to like confirm my thoughts. And I'm like, oh, I got to get in. I got to get out. I got to get in. I'll be in and out of one trade 5 times in a day. And I'm like, why did I do that? I know better. The
only time I would do that, switch over to a 1-minute chart, when I'm watching, I've already outlined my resistance, going back to like Airbnb, I will take a look at the chart to see when it's really, I already know from the 4-hour chart, my main chart, it's already up against resistance and banging its head on resistance. And now I switch over without having to look at that. And I start to see it roll back over, and I say, I'm taking profits.
Right.
That's the only
And
time.
that's what I need to do. And that's how I want to use the 1 minute chart. And yet for some reason, I'm checking it every other minute, sitting in front of my screen every second of every day. And
Wow.
I'm checking my position analysis, and every dollar that goes down, I'm like, I'm down $1, I'm down $1, I'm down $1. Instead of looking at like, it's like the ups and downs. Okay, so let's say Airbnb is going to come down, I'm going to buy more and I'm going to sell up here, which is exactly what I did. But as it's going down, I'm like freaking out about it. And should I close? Should I close? Should I close? Should I buy more? How do I dig out of this? Knowing that if I just look at the 4-hour chart and here's where I am and here's where I want to go, and I believe in that, forget the noise in between. That's what I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
I just need to shut my computer and walk away is what it is, because
You have to find you, Megan. I mean,
Yeah.
like you take Airbnb, for instance. In my personal opinion, I believe that you could let it set. You didn't have to sell today. You could let it ride and close your eyes. In a couple months, this thing will be at 200. I believe that.
Yeah.
But that's not how I trade. I like to go in and go out, but I'm not going in and out every day. I take a look at, so when you go back through, if someone say, well, Bruce, so why'd you get out? I have my reasons for why I got out, because it hit resistance at the 152 area, and it didn't explode past it. So you have to have your own thesis on why you're entering and why you're exiting a trade, and when you will get back in. Like even right now, I'm just telling everybody on this group, I will be back in Airbnb when it goes ahead and it consolidates, and I'll announce it to the group. But I'm looking to get back in right around this area here. So it's visualizing that and planning those trades ahead of time. And sometimes the trades run. Square ran on me. I try to do that with Square, and I never got a chance to get back into Square. And I think my line is still drawn there. No, it's not. But I was trying to get back into it. I was looking for it to pull back down. It never did. So, but I'm okay with that. There's so many trades out there that you can make. You just have to find the right one at the right time. I just
take this week off.
and then sometimes that's a good idea. I think that for everybody on the call, I think that it really is going to benefit everybody to be able to really plan out your trades, and not just mentally. You'll get to that point where you can just mentally do it, but I would write it down. I'd outline your trades, whatever it is. I'm getting into this trade. Here's what my thesis is. So is it a long-term thesis? Is it a short-term catalyst? What is that? What is the catalyst that's causing you to get into the trade? And then are the technicals set up? And if you see the technicals where, they're different than what I've taught you guys, where they're going down, but you still want to get in, then you better write that down and say, hey, you know what? It's going against the technical system, but I'm still going to get in. Because then maybe when you write that down and you see yourself, it's going against my technical system, but I'm still going to get in. Maybe that might wake you up and you say, what am I doing? It's going against my system. Why am I getting into the trade? Writing things down, it's going to help everybody become a better trader. You'll map things down. You'll talk about when you're going to get out of the trade. What's your long-term target on the trade? All those things, they'll help you. But you have to put pen to paper, get a dedicated notebook for your trades, and write down why you're getting into those trades each and every time. And if you guys notice, I hold true to what I'm saying. Very, very rarely will I do like front month options. I think on Airbnb, I was out until October on Airbnb. And so what trade will I take if I do it again? It would probably be the same. Probably the same ones, the same October. This is the one I was at before, the October 100s. I'll probably go back in that same one. When you take a look at the one I just entered just before the closing bell, SPG, I did the October on this one as well, and I did the October 100s. So I typically hold true to my form. I go in the money, and I go ahead and go far enough out where I start to become intimate with that option price. And I take a look and look at why I'm getting into those trades. I mean, I think I paid $31 for it for the 100s, and it's at 130.48. So I have very, very little extrinsic value on the trade. But there's a lot of reasons I do what I do. It's not just flying by the seat of my pants. There's reasons I'm doing certain things. There's reasons I outline certain things, and you guys have to do the same thing. You have to do it where it's meaningful for you, and that way you'll start to take a look at what people are saying in the group as idea generation, as opposed to, oh, they're getting into that trade, I better get into it too. Make sense, guys?
Total sense. Thanks, Bruce.
You got it. Yeah, so just stay in there, Megan. I can tell you're a little bit down, but you're a solid trader. You really are. We all go through those ups and downs. The superstar traders start to realize when they're having an off day or an off week, and they know when to scale back or step out of the marketplace. And they also recognize when they're on fire, when to step down on the pedal. You have to recognize both scenarios. You just got to believe it. I know, because I've talked to you, Megan, you're a solid trader. Everybody has a bad week. So you got to do something about it now. Maybe take some time off or just observe. All right, guys, hang in there, Megan. Megan, if you need to call me, call me.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks for sharing with us. It's really meaningful and important that we all get those lessons at the same time. So I appreciate you for sharing that and showing up and being honest with us all.
Yeah. Very good, guys. Well, have a good rest of the day, and I'll see you guys in the morning.
Thanks, Bruce. Thanks, Megan.
All right, guys. Bye now.